All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. Where today my very special guest is Megan, and she has quite some story to tell you. Some of you have probably already heard it, but nonetheless, you're going to hear it again. Megan, go.
Oh, thanks so much for the opportunity. It's really great to be here. So I just wanted to share with everybody, and I'm sure many people already know from your channel how fantastic a carnivore diet is, how healing it is, how beneficial it is. And let's face it, honestly, that is the way we were designed to function optimally, was following an animal-based diet. But for those who, I guess, aren't maybe sure, or they're not quite sure if they should start or not, I just wanted to let people know my story. So the biggest thing that I've healed since being carnivore now for just a little over 4 years, I had horrible fibromyalgia, severe fibromyalgia pain. It had me in a wheelchair for almost 9 years. And since going carnivore, I have finally stopped using the wheelchair, haven't needed to use it since October last year. I've actually listed it for sale as of yesterday. And I actually get out and I walk anywhere from 4 to 6 miles every single day. And for almost 9 years, I didn't think that would ever be possible. You know, the GPs, the good old GPs, kind of said, well, it's fibromyalgia, which I had a GP actually say to me, that literally means we really don't know what else it is. So we're gonna go with fibromyalgia because it's not lupus, it's not arthritis. You probably went through a similar experience. And this is the closest we can come to a diagnosis. We figure this is what it is. Good luck. And so it was 9 years of pain medication after pain medication, and eventually antidepressants. By 2020, I was already on thyroid medication. I had become hypothyroid, or had hypothyroidism. My thyroid was underactive. I had Raynaud's. I had horrible IBS. I had terrible anxiety. I mean, I kind of lived with horrible, crippling, I would say, anxiety since I was a kid. And that just got worse. My depression was in a really bad state. I was bulimic for over 30 years. And that was it. I figured this was life. This was me. This is what I'm stuck with. Having no idea at the time that all the margarines and the breakfast cereal and the oatmeal this and the brown rice there and the beans and all the good fiber was actually, all the plant material was the root cause of all the horrible things going on with me. I had no idea. And it's one of those, once you find the truth out, you're kind of like, how could I have not known this for such a long time? And even to this day, it still surprises me how much I didn't know and for how long I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I'll be 52 this year. So I remember when my mom, back in the early 80s, when she swapped butter out for margarine in her house. And it was like, no, 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 no. I remember her saying to friends, no, 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 fat's the problem. Sugar's an empty calorie. Fat's fine as long as it's margarine and it's plant-based. So we're gonna go with all the margarine and the plant stuff. And because the government said that. So it must be true, right? Our doctors told us, so it's gotta be right. 40 plus years later, it's like, yeah, no, not so much. Definitely not the case. But yeah, I mean, I saw my weight go up and down a lot in life, 2 pregnancies, an eating disorder for most of it. So that wasn't new. But by the time we were well into COVID, I was easily 100 pounds overweight. So I was on 225 pounds at my heaviest. That's more than I weighed with either pregnancy. And I wasn't, I looked pregnant, but I wasn't pregnant. And it was just crazy. When I started to cut out the plants, I started keto for a couple weeks. And then I saw a video by Dr. Barry, and he's like, actually, guys, you don't need the fiber. You really don't need the fruits and vegetables. I was like, I had permission to not eat plants. When I cut that stuff out, I'm like, oh my goodness, no IBS symptoms. And within 6 months, without effort, I dropped that 100 pounds. And, people have asked me, like, did you work hard? I'm like, no, I just worked hard on eating the things I needed and cutting out the crap I didn't. And it was crazy how fast. It's not that fast for everybody. I get that. But I sort of had to do, and when I work with people, so I offer nutrition coaching consultations. When I work with people, I tell them, look, you probably want to start slowly. because you'll feel the withdrawals a whole lot less. But in my case, I had to go cold turkey because there was just so much going on. I don't tolerate plants of any kind in any form, so they're just gone. And when people ask me, well, don't you miss it? Of course I miss it. I miss berries. I miss some of the vegetables, but I'm not willing to suffer for it. It's like, if you eat the lower carb stuff, if you can have a few plants and you're fine, go for it. I won't be. Like, no, it's not worth it. And just feeling so much better overall. My brain fog, I think, was probably the first thing I noticed improve. Within a month or two, I felt like I had my brain back. 10 years of fibromyalgia. And it became a running joke I can laugh about now. But at the time, like, my kids would say, Mom, we asked you to do this. When? Well, 10 minutes ago. I don't remember. And I literally could not remember, as you probably experienced to some extent yourself. It was just that foggy brain of, I could not recall what I had done 5 minutes earlier. Now it's just like, wow, I want to remember stuff. I want to read stuff. I want to participate in life. I've been able to get out and do more things. And now that I don't need the wheelchair, it's been amazing. So there have been a few weekends where my husband and son and I have gone to a music gig. I like everything, but I love me some heavy metal. So we've been to some metal gigs and be able to just stand for, the 2.5 hours without pain. I'm not in the mosh pit because that time has long since passed me. I'll watch my son go in, no problem, but just be able to stand and listen to music without wondering, can I get a wheelchair in? Where am I going to sit? Are you guys going to be somewhere else in the venue? Okay, I'll meet you afterwards. Just to be able to get out and do things like that is just amazing. That's what Carnivore's done for me. It's just given me such a new lease on life and so much energy. I don't know, I kind of feel like I have discovered the secret of life, and I just want to be able to let as many people know as possible because I don't want to keep it to myself. I mean, it could heal so many people. It could help so many people out there. Why not share it with as many people as I possibly can? That's kind of my little mini mission in life, is try to get the word out to as many people as possible who maybe somehow haven't heard about it. And I don't know if there's that many. And just say, look, guys, it worked for me. It could totally help you. Give it a try. That's kind of my goal in life these days, definitely.
Absolutely. Quite right about saying that, most people have heard about the carnivore diet. You don't go around these days and say to people, look, I'm on this carnivore diet, and people go like, well, what's that? Well, some do, but it's very rare, isn't it? Most everybody knows all about it, and most people think they know all about it. Have you had someone who thinks they know all about carnivore tell you all about how bad that is, how dangerous that is, and how you don't want to be doing that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Isn't that incredible?
It is.
From what it's done for you. But go on. Tell us about it.
I know. I've had that. Now, to be fair, when I first started, my husband was like, you're so weird. Like, why would you eat this way? I'm like, well, it's working. Okay, fine. You get that point, because by that, when he first said it, I think I lost about 40 pounds. He was like, okay, it's working. We'll see how it goes. I'm like, babe, I'm off all my, I'm coming off my medications. My blood work is actually normal. I don't have fatty liver disease anymore. I have my brain back. He's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this. And now it's just 4 years on. He's like, yeah, you know what? I got nothing. I know it works. I know it's good for us. I've had a couple of people say, well, don't you need fiber? Don't you need to have vegetables? I'm like, no. And I'll just come back to them and say, well, no, fiber is what got me into trouble in the first place with IBS. And it's like the absolute worst thing for me. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, but what about cholesterol? And what about heart disease? I'm like, my blood work is pristine. So next, what else you got?
Yeah.
It worked. So,
Exactly that. So therefore, I guess they go away thinking you're some kind of freak because, number one, you're a freak because you got sick in the first place. And number two, you're a freak because you cured it with a species-appropriate, species-specific diet that they think is just crazy and dangerous. And they're not going to go and do that.
No, of course not. But they'll sit and they'll eat pasties and they'll eat cakes and biscuits and reward their children with sugar and chocolate. And that's normal. That blows my mind. It's like, okay, yeah I'm going to stick with what I'm doing because I'm healthy and you're not. So
yeah,
you don't want to believe it. That's unfortunate. So. Yeah.
So I think you alluded to it a little bit there, Megan, but when you went from whatever you were doing to a carnivore diet, How long was it before you knew absolutely that this was the answer for the fibromyalgia?
I definitely, okay, so I think probably within the first month or so, I could tell that it was starting to help in the sense of the brain fog was lifting. The pain was still there for a while. I think part of it was me just kind of mentally getting in my own way, thinking, well, I better keep on the medication because surely I'm still in pain and therefore I must still need it. And so it took me several years. So it was March of 2023. And I just thought to myself, I'm so tired of having to be in a wheelchair. I'm sick of having to get pushed around when we're on holiday, getting out the power chair. Just like, I don't want that. I want to get this life back. And it's like I had this epiphany, this moment of I might be healed. And it's more my anxiety about what if something goes wrong? That was more what was, I think, keeping me, I have to stay on the medication because the doctor said so. And I have to be a good girl and do what they say. And I thought, well, wait a second, they were wrong about carnivore. So they could possibly be wrong about me needing the pain medication because surely I healed by now. It started, they told me, because I had a prolapsed disc in March of 2014, taking out the laundry, and it just went right out. Everyone that I saw after that, they said, well, that's what triggered the fibromyalgia. But in actuality, you probably healed from the original injury within 6 to 8 weeks. But because of the inflammation and everything else going on, your brain's still thinking you're injured. So I'm like, I need more medication. When I saw the video that you and Pim did about that, about breaking through. And when I realized, wait a second, maybe I'm not actually injured and maybe I don't actually need the medication. Let me just try slowly, just delay the timing slightly, see what happens. If I don't feel worse and I even feel better, maybe I can cut it back. Maybe I can reduce it a little. And from there, it was kind of like, let me just see if I can manage without the medication because I didn't want the after effects. So it was incredible to me. And it wasn't easy because I was convinced that I was fine and I didn't need the medication, but I didn't expect the withdrawals as much as there was initially. But once I got used to it, I realized this is not fibromyalgia pain. This is more, I'm coming off the medications. I'm actually feeling when my body is sore, like, because I've moved, but that doesn't mean I'm injured. And my big thing was, what if I injure myself again? What if I hurt myself again? From then on, I was like, I am going to walk again. I'm not quite sure how or when, but I'm going to get there. And my first step is I got to get off the medications. And so I did that very, very, and I tell people, look, don't stop. You got to wean yourself off. And I understand some medications, you should speak to a medical professional first. Like if you have severe mental health issues or whatever, talk to a doctor first. Don't just decide, I don't need this anymore because I need it. But for me, I thought, let me just see how I get on without the pain medication. And then once I started to come off of that, I realized, I've been feeling pretty well mental health wise. My anxiety is a lot more managed. I don't really feel depressed. Maybe I don't need those medications either. So I slowly came off the sertraline. And then with a thyroid medication, that was kind of accidental because I didn't really feel like it helped in the first place. And I kept forgetting to take it. And then I ran out of it before I reordered more. So I just was like, oh, well, actually, I don't notice any difference. So there we go. I guess I'm off of my thyroid medication. And I came off my statins. I'm like, why am I taking these if my triglycerides are really, really good now and everything else looks healthy? Oh, I don't need them anymore. So kind of each little progress kind of helped me go, I'm actually feeling better and got me taking a few steps every day, walking every now and again, building up to it. And then last fall decided, why don't I haven't walked the dogs in years? I'll take the dogs in. Half a mile, not that far. And I felt great. Once every few days built up. And then ever since then, it's like, oh, wow, I haven't used the wheelchair since last October and I feel great. And that's where I can say, yeah, you know what? This is reversed. This is like, I don't feel any chronic pain at all. Sore muscles sometimes if I end up doing 6 or 7 miles in a day. But otherwise, it's kind of like, I feel great. I get up with energy. I can't wait to get the day started. Neither can the dogs because they get me up around 6 every morning. And then we're usually at around 9. We put our couple miles in and, go from there. But it definitely, long answer. But I noticed it first starting to improve probably August of 2020 because that was where the brain fog just started to dissipate. And I felt like I had myself back again, person I was from before I was finally starting to see her appear once again. She was on hiatus for a while, but she was back.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I could mirror many of your experiences, except the getting so far as to need a wheelchair. I never got that serious, but my OG was like every other day. It was like I didn't want to get out of bed, and some days I didn't. And I was taking so much time off what I was doing for an occupation at that time. I was still working in academia. And I think the brain fog thing is really interesting too, because it was kind of around about the time my brain fog lifted that I realized that being in academia was not the thing that I needed to be doing. So it also helped me to change my life in a way that has actually proven to be one of the most conducive decisions I ever made, lifestyle-wise, etc. Because now I make more money than I ever did as an academic. Being a social media influencer, I don't have to put up with anybody else's nonsense anymore, except for societies, because that won't go away. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say there's always stuff on the interwebs, right? But that's such an incredible thing. I mean, I used to always work, and my brain fog got so bad I had to surrender my license. I couldn't drive anymore because of the effects of the medication. I had to stop working, had to go on disability, and it wasn't ideal for us. And then, just very quickly after that, just kind of lost interest in a lot of things. And so, my kids today, well, they're not kids, they're young men in their 20s now, like feeling old. And they'll say, no, Mom, it's okay. We understood and we still love you and don't worry about it. But I've had to go back and say, sorry, it's like, I know there was a whole period of time that I literally don't recall with clarity because, on gabapentin for the most part. And I sort of zombie walked through life at that point. So when someone says, would you ever go back to eating a balanced diet? Heck no. No, thank you. Because I enjoy being present in my life and getting the most out of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you feel when you hear, which I'm sure you fairly regularly do, from people who perhaps are maybe well-meaning, but ultimately misguided, miseducated, ignorant, and theological, who support the idea that people like us should be denied a species-appropriate, species-specific diet, and we should all go and eat the bugs or whatever, or the plants, because it's better for the world, they say.
Yeah. First of all, I have a good, loud laugh, because it's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And to some people, I would say, actually, you need to watch videos by Dr. Peter Ballerstedt, talks about regenerative farming and the importance of ruminant animals. I said, in fact, by eating all the plants and all the bugs, which, by the way, were intended for animals to eat, not humans. You eat corn. Where does most of it end up? Just saying. But I'll say, you know what? Actually, you guys are causing far more damage to the earth by growing single crops. We don't digest effectively. We just don't. But then if they really ask me, I'll say, well, the thing I usually get is, well, we need the glucose. I'm like, no, we don't. You don't believe me? Follow Bart K. And if you still don't trust that, I said, here's an absolute indisputable fact. We do not need to eat dietary glucose. We make what we need through gluconeogenesis. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. And they usually go, oh, and then just walk away. And I just hope that those of us who are kind of trying to err on the side of sanity will end up winning at the end of the day. But it's a little worrying.
Yeah, I used to believe that the truth would shine through and that, the truth will win in the end. And I still believe it. But I think that the end has been delayed because it seems like we're going to have a period of societal insanity first, where people will basically suck any old lollipop that's put in front of them. It's incredible.
Oh, it is. It's shocking, really. It's sort of like, how?
Yeah, I think it's this pervasive, absolutely pervasive way in which people are brainwashed and indoctrinated from a very, very young age by what is ostensibly a criminally misanthropic viewpoint about both science and the human experience and what it is to be a human and where we've come from, all of that, to the point where, like, recently I was at a family funeral where you can't really give it to your relatives because, you're kind of on your best behavior at such things.
Yes. Well, it's on at least.
Yeah. So I've got a cousin that was there that was, that is a registered nurse. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, no, you can't be doing that. Even though everybody knows I've been doing this for some time. Everybody knows that I've got some kind of profile online after a fashion, whatever it is, and, all of this. And they know about my qualifications and background and all of that, and still they know better. For example, my cousin who's a nurse, oh, no, you can't do that diet because, get this, ketoacidosis. That's why. And I'm like, to my cousin, do I look to you like I'm having a problem with ketoacidosis right now? Well, I don't know. I haven't got a pH meter. Well, go and get one if you like. Have you got a ketone meter in the car? Go and get one. We'll do it right now if you like. No, this is not happening. I'll tell you why it isn't happening. Well, because amino acids are gluconeogenic. That's why it's not appropriate to say the carnivore diet is a form of keto. It isn't. Most of the time, we're not in keto. It's nothing to do with keto. Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. And then at another point later on, away from afterwards, I'm sitting with my mum and my aunt, and we were talking about something to do with the future and all of this kind of stuff. And my mum's kind of sighing and whimsically going, I really wish that you'd just eat a balanced diet, son. I'm like, oh my God, mother, are you serious right now? And then she's like, I know you know what you're doing, son. I know you. And why did you just say that then?
Exactly.
Which is it? Either I know what I'm doing, or you'd really like to see me, oh my God. Anyway, so yeah. So if those are my battles, I can imagine that others who, are trying to do the right thing by themselves and by their families and whatever else, that are copying these kind of things from their nearest and their dearest. It's no surprise that the ideologues who have no skin in your game whatsoever are going to have cracks.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
I had to sort of accept that a while ago. It's like, you know what? They're going to say it's crazy because I thought it was crazy until I did it. But that's too bad. They're misinformed. Actually, you might enjoy this particular story. I was going through town center last summer, and they had this really great little guy with a cart. He does hot sausages. So I was on my way in to get a sausage for lunch that day, just the sausage. And as I'm walking by with a sausage in my hand, there's this little pop-up stand for vegans who are doing like, if you get our QR code, we'll download recipes for you kind of thing, right? And this young girl, and she was sweet enough. She ran right up to me. She goes, would you be interested in our vegan menu? I'm like, yeah, I only eat meat. Thanks, though. And she was like, I just walked away. I can't stop laughing. I'm like, yeah, no, thanks.
But you wonder who's been programming that child.
Well, that's it, exactly.
And why they're allowed to do that.
Yeah. Well, my question is always, okay, so if they're vegan, fine, that's whatever, free will, their choice. But why do we have to now make carrots and red beets taste like burgers? Like, they made their choice. Just wondering, right? Yeah. I would say it tastes pretty nasty on its own, but hey, you chose it. Why should we have to make allowances where everything is now fake meat? Should be just meat or vegetables. Not worried about them. That's just me personally, but yeah.
Yeah. Bigot.
Twice. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, incredible. Wow. That basically is it in a nutshell. Incredible story. It's amazing to see where you are now and to know how much better life is for you now. I've had a miraculous recovery myself from fibromyalgia. Clearly not remotely as severe as what you've been through, as I've said. But nonetheless, it was a real detriment to my life. And so I can only imagine what this new lease of life means for someone in your position and for your family and all of those things. Absolutely take my hat off to you for having the courage to stick your neck out and to go against the grain and to tell everyone that knows better where they can shove their so-called knowledge. Yeah, you're an absolute cheerleader and so much the better that you're around the community. I hope that everybody will go and sub to all your social medias, because I'm sure you've got one or two of those to let people know what's going on. Why don't you tell us about those?
I have a few. So I'm on Instagram as the Faithful Fibromyalgia Warrior. YouTube is Megan, the Faithful Fibromyalgia Warrior, because that's where I started. I'm on crazy, I know, 50s, but I'm on TikTok as a Healing Foods Coach. And if people are interested in any coaching, I'm at www.healingfoodscoach.com.
Beautiful. there you go. That's all the places to find Megan and to get her take on things and stuff. And if nothing else, you should go and sub to all of that and cross-pollinate, because that's what we're all about, is making sure that, well, anyone that's saying anything remotely sensible about nutrition and health probably ought to have a decent audience. And we're up against it, frankly, because they don't want us to have one.
Nope.
Have you noticed any overt signs of them not wanting you to have an audience at this stage, or?
It was crazy because there was a point where it seemed like subscribers were going up quite a bit at one stage on the YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden it just quieted down, and it's picked up again. But it almost was like it would go up, and then suddenly people would be gone, and then it would sort of pick up one or two. So I don't know if that's just people changing their minds or if that's them out there. I'm not sure, but anything's possible.
Well, I don't. From where I'm sitting. Yeah, from where I'm sitting, from where I'm coming from, I'm very consistent in terms of what I do and how I do it on the interwebs. Some people like what I do, some people hate it. I'm like the Marmite of social media. If people understand that one, you know. However, pretty much week on week, I'm doing the same things. Nothing changes. My style doesn't change that much, nothing else. So it's not that. So why would people be coming in, flooding through the door, loving what I'm doing, and suddenly the next week turn around on a dime and now they're not interested anymore and I'm not getting any subs? Or I'm getting the same number of subs, but then miraculously the same number of people that join me every week are unsubscribing. Only those people that are unsubscribing didn't know they were unsubscribing because they didn't, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The platform decided they were unsubscribing, including paid channel members.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Yeah.
So
that would be the days and the them working out there.
That's the days and them I'm talking about, yeah. So I would suggest to everybody that's involved in social media, even those that don't feel like necessarily they've got this problem at this point, you will at some point if you say the wrong thing, because the wrong thing is any message not approved by those who would have you own nothing and eat the bugs.
Yes. Well,
and that being the case, what I would suggest to you is that you embrace and make yourself visible on alternate venues, shall we say.
Yes.
I've been doing that recently, and if people want to take a odyssey of discovery, such an odyssey of discovery might net them some findings as to where I might be other than on the YouTube platform. And there's also been some rumblings there have been recently as well about where I might be other than those who have taken an odyssey. Maybe go and check that out. Yeah. All right. So that's us for today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Megan, for your valuable time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for recording this a second time because we had some technical issues with the first one. Never mind. These things happen. They're all sent to test us, and we have the patience to see it through. So there it is. Join me next time when probably someone will be wrong on the interwebs because there's a lot of that going on, isn't there? See you then. Ciao.